The Five Nights at Freddy's series has become a cultural phenomenon in recent memory. Starting from a game almost no one knew and were considered weird for liking, into a series so big you'd have to be living under a rock if you didn't know it. Spawning so many sequels and fan games and even 2 movies, it's been widely considered to be one of the best indie horror games out there. But under the pile of popular FNAF fan games and flashy modern FNAF lies a bit of nostalgia and appreciation from some of the older games, and where the series started with FNAF 1. So that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to be explaining why I think FNAF 1 might be one of the best FNAF games in recent memory. The gameplay is by far the most simple. You have to manage your power, while also checking the cameras for the animatronics to make sure they don't get too close, while also keeping Foxy from tearing you a new one when he reaches the door. Now, what I described sounds easy and simple enough, but that's the neat thing. It isn't. You see, this game gives you a form of anxiety where you constantly feel exposed to the dangers around you unless you never touch the cameras. But you have to keep Foxy from reaching your door as well, so you're basically caught in this loop of trying to ward off the other animatronics coming from you, while also trying to delay Foxy as much as possible. There is also a huge risk of losing power during the night if you aren't careful enough, because once the power goes out, there's no way of turning it back on, and once Freddy's at the door, you basically have 2 options. 1. You get lucky enough to make it to 5 AM, and Freddy happens to be nice that day and plays this song longer, or 2. You just die. No in between. I find this type of gameplay enjoyable because if you feel too comfortable with wasting your power, then you're just going to be in the dark 90% of your attempts. If you check on the cameras too much, then you run the risk of one of the animatronics making their way inside the room and killing you. And if you just don't do anything, Foxy and Freddy will eventually get you as well. No matter what, you have to engage with the game or you won't survive very long. The sound design in this game is probably one of the best in the earlier installments in the series, because this game can fill you with so much dread and so much relief at the same time. The first time you leave that door open when the animatronic is right outside and you hear that groaning sound, you know you're screwed. But the relief you feel when you hear that 6 AM chime is overpowering. You want to stop playing at that moment. Also, the random curveball sounds this game throws at you, like the carousel music in the background or Foxy's hum, and even the footsteps of the animatronics are all so good because they feed into that sense of uneasiness you get throughout the game. The carousel music is one of the many distractions in the game that causes panic because it happens randomly and makes you lose focus on the first 2 nights, but after a while, it becomes a sense of relief that pierces the silence the game has. Minus the iconic fan sounds. I'm gonna be honest, the first time I heard Foxy's hum, I genuinely thought that was Foxy coming out of his cove. It made me panic the first time I played, and now it's a funny thing I look back on sometimes. The designs for the animatronics are simple yet iconic, as they hold the most weight when dealing with the psychological part of the game. You see, I hate it when fans of FNAF try to make the animatronics more organic and almost like something you'd see in Resident Evil or Silent Hill, because it defeats the original purpose on why they were designed this way in the first place. The way I see it is Scott wanted to take advantage of the nostalgia of places like Chuck E. Cheese, where the designs are super kid-friendly looking that you would find it hard to believe that these things would want to try and kill you until you see them walking towards your office and stuffing you into a suit. It creates that sense of confusion and dread, like, why are these things trying to hurt me? Shouldn't they be friendly? And Golden Freddy hammers this home like crazy. He's basically just an empty suit but acts like a ghost. How is he in my office and somewhere around the pizzeria at the same time? We play as someone named Mike Schmidt in the year 1993 due to the date on the check being in November. We're looking for a job due to the help wanted ad in the beginning of the game, and on our first night we get a phone call from someone who worked here before us, giving us some tips and warning us about the animatronics. There was an event before this called the Bite of 87 where someone got bit by one of the animatronics, causing them to be missing their frontal lobe. As the night goes on, the robots start moving in an attempt to put a costume on what they think is an empty metal skeleton sitting in the guard's office. But that's just a front Fazbear tells their employees. In actuality, someone who worked in the restaurant used an old mascot suit that was somewhere within parts and service to lure children inside and kill them. In order not to get caught, they stuffed the kids inside the suits, which in turn are the animatronics trying to kill you. They see you as the person that killed them, which is why in Security Breach, they're the basic white now, because they see the purple you're wearing and tie it back to the person who actually killed them. FNAF 1's story is mostly left up for interpretation. We know the phone guy was around and working during the bite of '87 with this line.
It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
Meaning that whoever was the victim of the bite survived it to tell the story, causing the franchise of Freddy Fazbear's to close. Then, 6 years later, the first case of the MCI was reported, where someone used an old mascot suit to lure 5 kids into the back of the pizzeria to be murdered and eventually stuffed inside the suits. We can see this with the random newspaper clippings we find on the wall outside our office, where it explains that someone was arrested, but they never found the bodies. The small clues the game gives you to help build the story is honestly a really creative way for the player to figure it out as the game progresses, rather than just outright telling you. It doesn't go the amnesia route of having you read letters to piece it together, but it also isn't a walking simulator like Edith Finch. The game overwhelms you with endless horror, but if you really want to know what happened, you might want to take a closer look. Or until FNAF 2 comes out, that takes place during 1987. In the end, I think FNAF 1 is the best in the series due to the overwhelming gameplay and sound design, the character designs breaking a sense of childhood trust, and a simple yet hidden story you have to go out of your way to find. I honestly give it an 8 out of 10, seeing how it's the game that kickstarted the entire series into what it is today, but being the oldest, it also doesn't really hold up very well into the lore department by itself, mainly relying on the other games to tell its story. If you want me to make a video on FNAF 2, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay awesome, guys.